right, travel crew. Abe the Cursed Chef reporting live from, well, somewhere beyond the known map. My taste buds are still playing hide and seek, but my nose? My nose is a super sniffer on a mission to find a legendary Bushido-Grain. We've stepped into a world that smells like ancient stone and damp, living wood. Like a forest that's been breathing for 1,000 years. Giant moss-draped roots twist across the path, almost like sleeping giants. The air here feels thick, not with humidity, but with a quiet, watchful energy. Listen to that wind. It doesn't just blow, it sings through the towering bamboo stalks. A low, resonant hum that vibrates right through the ground. Nobi's fur is bristling, see? A tiny shiver runs down his spine, pointing towards that faint, earthy scent of disturbed soil and something warm. That means we're close to where the locals move, where they've carved out their path. My chef's intuition tells me those faint markings on the tree bark, almost like brushstrokes, aren't just art. They're a map, a menu, a story of the land. Each groove, each faded pigment describes the density of the wood, the moisture in the air, the very soul of this place. I'm reading the environment like a recipe, travel crew. This soil, this dampness, it's all part of the Bushido-Grain story. But standing here, even just observing, feels like a weight pressing down. A constant hum against my skin. This land doesn't just exist, it demands attention. What do you think those markings mean for our next move, travel crew? Are we getting warmer? Travel crew, my nose just picked up a new data point. Wood smoke and something like dried herbs, but with a faint, sharp tang of iron. That means people, and they're close. See that flicker between the bamboo stalks? It's Cato, a settler with eyes like polished river stones and hands gnarled like ancient roots. He's watching us, travel crew, but his gaze isn't hostile, just wary. Careful, young chef, Cato grunts, his voice like gravel shifting. The air here bites with whispering dust, and the ground hums a warning. My ears pick up the subtle shift he's describing. The low, resonant hum of the bamboo now has a higher, almost crystalline edge, a faint shiver that wasn't there before. And the air? It carries a new, almost imperceptible grit, a fine powder that settles on my tongue, leaving no taste, but a distinct, dry texture. This isn't just humidity, it's an active, abrasive presence. The constant pressure I felt before is now a sharp, insistent prickle across my skin, like 1,000 tiny needles. Cato's words aren't just folklore, they're a precise sensory map of this biome. He's describing the very air as an ingredient, travel crew, a dangerous one. This environment isn't just challenging, it's actively trying to wear us down. What do you think, travel crew? How do we navigate an atmosphere that bites? Travel crew, Cato's grinning about the biting air and humming ground led us right to this spot. The air here isn't just biting, it's a dense, shimmering haze that feels like a vibrating membrane against my skin. Nobi's fur is standing on end, his low-frequency hum now a deep-chested rumble, pointing towards that ancient, gnarled tree. Beneath its roots, nestled in the shadowed earth, is the Bushido-Grain. It's not just a plant, it's a living data point. I use my polished chef's knife, not to cut, but to direct a beam of sunlight onto the grain. Observe how it reacts, travel crew. In the direct light, its surface shimmers with a faint, almost imperceptible pulse, like tiny, living embers. Now, as I shift the knife, casting a shadow, the grain's color deepens, absorbing the light, becoming a rich, velvety obsidian. It doesn't just reflect, it consumes the light. As the shadow falls, I feel a sudden, intense compression on my own senses, like the world is momentarily dimming around me. It's not just the prickle anymore. It's a skin-crawling tingle that makes my scalp tighten. This grain mirrors my curse, travel crew, absorbing the very essence of perception. Cato's words about the ground humming a warning make perfect sense now. This place isn't just avoided, it's actively draining. What do you think, travel crew? Does this mirrored reaction mean the Bushido-Grain could be the key to restoring what's lost? Or is it just another trap? Travel crew, that Bushido-Grain and just absorbing light, it's demanding respect. The shimmering haze around the ancient tree now feels like a dense, oppressive blanket, pressing down on my shoulders. Nobi's low-frequency rumble has deepened into a throaty thrum, his fur bristling towards the Bushido-Grain with an almost magnetic pull. My specialized harvesting tool, a delicate, curved blade crafted for precise extraction, feels cool and balanced in my hand. I extend the blade, aiming for the base of the grain, intending to separate it cleanly from the soil. But just as the blade's tip hovers, a figure emerges from the gnarled roots, their movements as fluid as the whispering currents of air. A root tender, their skin like weathered bark and eyes like polished obsidian, raises a hand, palm outward, a silent but firm command. "Not with steel, young one, not yet," the root tender says, their voice a low, gravelly murmur. My chef's instinct screams caution, pulling my hand back before the blade touches the grain. The air around me suddenly thickens, and the skin-crawling tingle intensifies, spreading from my fingertips into a prickling numbness that makes my joints ache. It feels like the very potential of my action was siphoned away, leaving a deep, internal chill. This land isn't just protected, it's alive with intent. What do you think, travel crew? Did my misstep just make this challenge even harder? Travel crew, that root tender just taught me a valuable lesson. Sometimes the sharpest blade isn't the answer. The air around the Bushido-Grain still hums with a watchful energy, and the root tender's obsidian eyes are fixed on my every move. Pipen, my analog mechanic, is practically a blur of motion beside me, his tiny clockwork mechanisms whirring like an agitated swarm of bees. He's frantically adjusting the pressure valves on my harvesting tool, muttering about energy dampeners and harmonic resonance to counter the grain's pull. He warns me the tool's internal springs are approaching critical tension if I try to force it. But I'm watching the root tender, watching the grain itself. It's not about brute force, travel crew. It's about respect, about finding its natural rhythm. I ignore Pipen's frantic warnings about overload and structural integrity. I shift my grip, softening my touch. Feeling the subtle resistance in the air, instead of cutting, I'm going to persuade it. I rotate the blade, not to slice, but to find the natural seam, the point of least resistance, like peeling a delicate fruit. A sharp, cold jolt shoots up my arm, making my fingers tingle, almost seizing my hand. It feels like the grain is trying to absorb my very intention, my focus, making my grip waver. This Bushido-Grain isn't just an ingredient, travel crew. It's a living challenge. How do you think we can outsmart something that reads our very intentions? Travel crew, this Bushido-Grain isn't just harvested, it's earned. The ground beneath my feet is rumbling now, a deep growl that vibrates up my legs. Pipen is practically a blur, his tiny clockwork gears spinning like crazy, muttering about harmonic overload and structural integrity as the grain pulses. I ignore his frantic warnings, focusing on the grain's own rhythm, not his frantic calculations. My chef's gloves protect my hands from the intense heat radiating from it, like a tiny sun trying to burst free. I carefully cradle the pulsing Bushido-Grain in a basket woven from tough, fibrous leaves, its energy trying to push against my grip. I use strong, braided jungle twine, wrapping it tight, securing the vessel with precise, practiced knots. Each knot is a promise, a seal against the raw power trying to escape. A small, furry creature with wide, glowing eyes watches from a mossy root, letting out a startled chirp. A root tender, his obsidian eyes wide, gasps, "It lives!" The air around me thickens, pressing in, and the ground gives a violent lurch. A wave of intense cold washes over my hands, then a searing heat, battling each other through the protective layers. It feels like the grain is trying to unravel my focus, making my muscles clench. My arms ache, not from weight, but from the sheer resistance of its energy. This Bushido grain fights back even after harvest. What do you think it's trying to tell us, travel crew? Travel crew, this Bushido grain isn't just alive, it's a force trying to escape. Stabilizing it through this crumbling path is my ultimate chef's challenge. The air smells of damp stone and sharp, resinous roots. Nobi's fur bristles, a low growl signaling unstable ground ahead. I feel the path shudder, a deep tremor vibrating up my legs. My chef's gloves are hot, then cold, as the grain battles itself, a seething core against my palms. I shift my weight, a calibrated stance, matching my breath to the earth's rhythm. Each step is a feather-light adjustment, counter pressure against the grain's resisting mass. A sudden lurch, and a path section cracks, sending crystalline chimes into the chasm. A glowing mossling tumbles towards the edge. Nobi barks, pointing with his nose. I pivot, body a shield, nudging the mossling back to safety. My muscles scream, aching from the grain's chilling tendrils and pulsing warmth. This isn't just carrying weight, it's wrestling a living storm. Exhaustion is a heavy cloak, but my focus remains absolute. How do you think we can truly harmonize with something so wild, travel crew? No text provided. Travel crew, the moment is here. This samurai soul rice, born from the Bushido grain, smells like ancient earth and pure, unyielding resolve. Each grain, a tiny, firm warrior. Pipen frantically tightens cooker valves, shouting about the rice's unstable energy, but I trust my preparation. I take the first bite. A jolt, like lightning, shoots through my core, not a taste, but a violent tremor, blurring vision. Nobi's fur stands on end, a low growl rumbling. Sensing the raw energy within me, then everything snaps into focus, sharper than before. My hands twitch, eager to find the perfect seam, the invisible cut. I feel the lines, the weaknesses, the exact points of separation without looking. Forest creatures go silent. A shriek echoes. A nearby wood dweller drops their basket, eyes wide with awe and fear. The air hums with a new frequency, vibrating with this sharp knowing in my fingertips. My curse fights back, travel crew, but it's giving me something. Did you see that shift? What do you think this new sense means for our next challenge? Travel crew, that Bushido grain didn't just give me a new skill, it carved a new path right through me. My hands still hum with a silent knowing, a perfect precision that sees the invisible seams of everything. But this new sharpness comes with a cost, a constant, low thrum behind my eyes, like a distant gong. Nobi's fur, which was standing on end, now lies flat and heavy, sensing the quiet exhaustion of this world. The air, once vibrant with the singing bamboo, now feels thin and hollow, like the land itself is holding its breath. I can still feel the faint tremor in my core, a lingering echo of the grain's raw power. This isn't just a skill, it's a permanent shift, a new layer to my cursed existence. I'll leave a small, perfectly purified Bushido-Grain husk for the wood dweller, a silent offering of respect and a warning of the power within. It's a reminder that every gain has its price, every ingredient demands its due. My fingers twitch, already anticipating the next perfect cut, the next challenge. The portal ahead shimmers with a new, complex aroma, a promise of uncharted culinary territory. This world's energy is fading, its story told, but mine is just beginning. What new secrets do you think this sharpened sense will unlock for us, travel crew?